Today on Le Podcast, that's how you say it in French, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, you speak French?
Mhm.
Honestly, if you said that you spoke French, I would believe you because to me, you can do anything. Adina Verson is, I'll say it, she's the most brilliant actor I have ever seen on stage or screen. The level of transformation that occurs is, I think
That's
the word
so
might
kind
be
of you.
insane.
That's
Because it's
Thank
also
you.
like so authentic to who they are, which is sort of amazing to me. It's like a
Thank you.
transcendent experience to see you perform, Adina.
That means so much to me. Thank
I
you.
just love you so much. And beyond that, so when we first met, what was it, 9 years ago?
Oh my gosh, was it 9 years ago?
It was 8.5 years ago. Oh my God.
Believe it, that's crazy.
And I was just saying, by the way, earlier, I was like, and I still like, I'm not recovered. Let's just say, like,
But I think that's okay.
that's okay. We're
Yeah.
on our life journey.
Yeah.
You started a yoga teacher training.
Oh, yeah. Have I ever taught a yoga class? No.
No, and what's so amazing to me is that like you've never taught a yoga class, but that training, it was 1 month and it was so intense.
Yeah.
And you went in whole hog.
Yeah.
Like when you do something, it's like that's all. It is so profound. It is so, and it always stuck with me that like if you're gonna like take something on, like yoga teacher training, even if you don't teach a fucking class for the rest of your life, it's going to be like, you're going to immerse yourself completely. I feel like when I think of you as a mom, I'm reminded of that experience because like, you're going to do it. And whatever you do, it's going to be, like I said, totally transformative and transcendent in the same way that you attack a role. Maybe it's not an attack. Maybe it's just.
I sometimes feel like feels like an attack. Like it's not like soft. Yeah.
So you made your Broadway debut in Indecent.
Mhm.
You've done so much theater and have been on television in recurring roles for years now. The next thing is Only Murders, yes, on Hulu?
Yeah. Season 2.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Season 2.
Oh, I bumped myself.
What we're wondering here is like with this robust artistic career, did you have to think planning to have a child, right? Like when you're an actor, there's like demands on your body, there's demands on your schedule, there's demands, and like, did factoring in a child, did you hold off? What was that like process for you?
Yeah, I did hold off. It was always so scary to think about like the time that it would take and what I would miss out on, and being like, when's the right point in my career that I can take that time and not lose momentum.
Yeah.
And so it was always really scary. Also the idea of like having my body change when I'm in like, a kind of body forward industry. And yeah, so there was always a lot of like fear around it. And um so when we finally like decided to like actually try, it was I had 2 miscarriages, but they weren't we hadn't been trying. They were like accidental pregnancies.
Oh, I
And
remember one you said you had an IUD in, right?
yeah, so the first one I had an IUD. So that was very unexpected.
That was the first.
That was the first, yeah.
Mhm.
And then the second one we had been like doing like natural family planning because I didn't want another IUD, because I was like,
Those things
of
don't
course
work.
I don't want exactly.
Actually, I got an IUD in, oh my God, and the vaccine on the same day, and I bled for
What?
2 months straight. And I like, it was really just, but I thought of you because I was like, the woman told me, like, it doesn't actually work. So why would I even
I
put
mean,
this in my body?
for 5 years, it was awesome.
It was awesome
Yeah,
until your body was like, I need to make a baby now.
I guess so. Also, I like regularly jump on a trampoline, and I like, they
Hmm.
say that can't knock it out, but I was like, couldn't it though?
Hmm. Gravity.
Because it was knocked out of place is what happened.
Oh,
Yeah, they like, it was embedded in my cervix. I had no
cool.
idea. Yeah.
So you had to get a surgery,
So I had to get a
right?
surgery, and I believe that the trauma from that is what caused the miscarriage. Yeah. So the baby kept growing, but then a few weeks later, um, the heartbeat had stopped. So that, I suspect, we
Yeah.
didn't have it tested or anything. Yeah. And then the second one, yeah, we had been doing, um, I had been like tracking my period and stuff, and but they say that after a miscarriage, your body is like then extra fertile because it's like, oh, well, we know we can do this. Okay, let's do it again. And so,
Wow.
I think my body tricked me. I mean, to be like totally honest, I was tracking my period and my cycle and my ovulation and everything, and my period had just finished, and I knew I had like a week and a half before I was going to ovulate, and we had sex like the day after my period ended, and the next day my temperature spiked, which means that I had ovulated the day before, and I was like, but it wasn't supposed to for another week and a half, so I was like, what did you do, body? And so then I got pregnant, um, uh, and that one we had tested, and it was a chromosomal abnormality.
Mm.
Um, Still, both of them were terrible, but
They were
then
terrible still. Like even in, actually, I was just talking to Laura and we were like going over some questions and I was like, listen, I just want you to know, like, if I'm triggered, I can't do my job. So we have to
mm,
just like not talk about breastfeeding all that much.
yeah,
Like there, it's
yeah.
like, right. Like if I could talk about miscarriages till the cows come home, because it doesn't like, it's not that, but is it still one of those things that hurts? This miscarriage, like,
Yeah, well,
conversation?
no, the conversation doesn't hurt. And it really is actually comforting knowing that the second one was a chromosomal abnormality, that like my body was like, you know, releasing something that if that with that abnormality, if the baby had been born, it wouldn't have survived. So like,
Mm,
thank goodness I had a miscarriage at uh, 10 weeks or whatever it was. Like,
10 weeks. Oh, that's like,
yeah,
yeah, like you'd invested in that
yeah,
life.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just long enough. Yeah. I mean, 10 weeks is like, over 2 months. I mean, with the stupid counting that they do for pregnancy, like it's not really, but
It's not real. Just for the record, it's
but like
not
the
a
second
real
that you know
count.
that you're pregnant, it's like,
Right.
uh,
You like anticipate your world changing and
yeah,
this new relationship. And it's not, I think like even if we wrap our heads around like it's normal to have a miscarriage, sometimes, like you said, like it's for the actual best,
yeah,
if this baby is not developing in a healthy way, like, thank God for the body to be like, you know what, let's just start again,
yeah, yeah.
you know? And it does take like some coordinating to make eyeballs and ears and like
Seriously.
how's a soul.
Yeah,
So like maybe you just need like, our bodies need like a practice round every now and then, but at the end of the day, like, it can feel sad. It's just
well, and just
hormonally
hormonally,
also,
yeah.
right?
And I remember being so shocked from, because both of the times I had to have a DNC because my
Yeah.
body wasn't uh miscarrying on its own.
Mm.
And um I guess you can wait, but I once I knew that the heartbeat had stopped both times, I was like, I don't want to wait. And my body was like, my sweet body was trying to hold on and like
Yeah.
not letting go. So um from the first time I had like wrapped my head around it, I had 2 days between finding out that the heartbeat had stopped and then having the DNC. So I had like mentally kind of like made peace with it.
Mm.
It was upsetting, but I made peace with it. And then but I was just like floored by, after the DNC, it was like, it took like 2 days for my hormones to like start to plummet. And that was like the huge kind of shock to me. And it was just this like incredibly emotional, like my body like was like, felt like something was missing. My arms, I remember my arms aching and being like, my arms feel like they should be holding a baby and they're not, and my arms are confused right now. It was, and I just like sobbing and like dissociating and being like, my body is sobbing right now because it's like letting go of something. But very lonely experience.
I loved your writing on it, but sorry.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, but the second time it was also just as bad, if not worse, because I was like, I'm gonna let myself feel all these feelings. I was suicidal for the first time I had ever been, like feeling that. But I was prepared that like, okay, 2 days after the DNC, so I suspect my hormones are going to drop again, and it did exactly the same thing again. But at least I was prepared for it.
I had a similar but different, as is like pretty much everything in parenthood, a similar but different experience when I had a miscarriage. I like totally respected the process. I didn't have a DNC, but I totally respected the process that these, that my body needed a practice round, that if I wasn't so aware, that maybe I would just think it was a chunky period, that like it didn't cognitively feel like a life to me. It felt like a bunch of cells. Like there were logical okaynesses.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. There were so many things that made it okay. And my body mourned.
Yeah.
I loved your writing on it. I loved your sort of outreach for awareness around miscarriages. It is a lonely experience, and I don't think people talk about it enough, right?
Yeah, I don't think people talk about it enough. And I think that even within the miscarriage experience, there's a lot of different experiences as far as like how far along you were, if your body did miscarry, if you had a DNC, if you were planning, or if you weren't.
Right. If you have an IUD in, or you're on birth control, or you're not. Yeah, there are so many variables.
Right.
I mean, when we're talking about like birth, life, death, it's so beyond. It's so beyond. Like there are so many variables. There are so many details.
It's incredible that we exist at all.
I know. Well, so when you finally were pregnant with Zelda, this was a planned pregnancy?
Yeah. So I have been doing, we did like like most of the original cast of Indecent went and did the show in LA. And at the end of that, and Michael, my husband, had come to stay with me there. And I think that was, for a long time I had like a kind of a job lined up. And I know that wasn't the last one, because I knew I was doing a show at Playwrights Horizons when I got back. But I was like, I like woke up one morning and I was like, okay, I'm ready. Michael, after the miscarriages, was like, I'm going to leave it to you. You let me know when you're ready. And I just woke up one morning and I was like, I'm always going to miss something. I'm always going to have to say no. There's never going to be a time where I'm not going to have to say no to something. Like in my head, I was like, maybe I'll get like a series regular job, and then like in between seasons, that's when I'll like be able to plan it early. But like,
I actually follow like an actress, Teresa Palmer, and like she plans her pregnancies around her like shooting schedule, and I'm like, wow, how fun for you.
Totally.
Right. Great.
Yeah. I'm sure that it screws her occasionally though. I mean, like it's impossible to plan fully. But I was like, I'm always going to miss something. I'm always going to have FOMO. Like, and but at the end of the day, my mom started perimenopause in her late 30s.
Oh,
Um, and so I was like, I'm getting into my later 30s. I don't want to wait. If I wait and this doesn't happen, I can't imagine being an old lady getting ready to die and not having kids. Like that was the image that made me so sad.
mm,
Um, and so I was like, it's time. I'm ready, and I'm gonna do this play, and it's fine if, and it'll probably take a little while for us to try. Like, um, and and it doesn't matter really if I'm like in my early pregnancy while I do this play, and then after
mhm,
that I didn't have anything lined up, and so I was
mhm.
like, I can figure it out. Um, and it just felt really right, and we got pregnant on our first try. Um,
I mean, I gotta give it to your body. Very fertile. Very nice.
I'm amazed I didn't get pregnant earlier in my life,
Maybe it's
or
also
maybe I
your,
did.
or maybe you did.
Maybe I
That's the
did.
other thing, right? Like, who was tracking that? Blood. It was like there were
Right.
so many bodily fluids going around in like your 20s. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's
Who
amazing.
knows?
Okay, so you're pregnant with Zelda. Tell me more.
Um, yeah, and for both miscarriages, I had gotten morning sickness like immediately, and then my morning sickness had stopped. I could track back after I found out that the heartbeats had stopped. That the morning sickness had stopped the day that the fetus had died,
Mhm.
or that the heartbeat had stopped. Um, and so again, I was like I had super bad morning sickness, but like, all day sickness. Um,
They call it
and
morning sickness, but
they call
it's
it morning,
just
yeah,
sickness.
just sickness.
Yeah.
And it's terrible when you're not telling people, and so you have to like pretend like you don't have this terrible flu all day.
Mhm.
Um, but um,
And you didn't tell people because,
I didn't tell people because because I wasn't, because I was scared
losing
um
your job.
of, well, not losing I
Oh.
knew I wasn't going to lose this job, but
Mm.
not but I was like, if I miscarry,
Mm.
then I don't want to not audition for things. So I
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
want
Yeah. 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 No, it's a real dance. I did the same
yeah,
twice.
okay. Yeah, and so it became this stupid dance where I was like, I was making up excuses why I didn't want to audition for things that were like further out. I remember like there were things that were happening like around the time that I would be giving birth, um, or in my third trimester, and it's just like and they were for like teenagers or something like that. I remember like they were like, can you go in for like the replacement for um uh To Kill a Mockingbird for oh my god, why am I forgetting, for Scout? And like Scout is like a kid, and I was like, I just don't really relate to the material. I was like, of
And
course
like,
I would
and you're
love to.
talking to like your managers and your agents who like love you. It's like that's the other thing that
Yeah,
really tripped me out. It's like these are people who would be happy like to just have me be fulfilled and like like they want to know if something great's
yeah,
happening in your life, and I'm like lying to them,
yeah,
and they're just out there getting me auditions and opportunities, and I'm like, but like I don't know.
yeah,
It's a very weird
exactly.
experience.
It's very weird.
And if you've had a miscarriage, I feel like it's totally understandable. You're like, I don't know if like it's
Yeah,
worth the big reveal. Okay.
right, right. And um and I had recently just signed with a new agency also. So
Mhm.
there was just a lot of fear of people being mad at me. Um uh which is so silly,
No, no, no,
but
no.
I'm
Like it sounds silly, but from like an actor's perspective,
yeah,
this is how we all feel.
right.
Like you're just voicing for the community.
Yeah,
Like, like even in acting school, they sort of really ingrain in us that like this is our temple, this is our religion, this is our craft, like nothing is more important than this art form. So like when something is more important, it
yeah,
can feel like a betrayal
yeah.
of the acting gods, or like
Totally,
like
totally.
I'm so like it's like a miracle that we're working actors, and I don't want to like
Yeah,
shit on that
totally, totally.
by
I did
having a
I did end up
baby.
Right, right. And now that I've had the baby, I'm like, of course this is more important. Like, but at the time, it's like I didn't quite understand the like enormity of it.
Yeah, but like, I just put my finger up to pause, because here's the thing, like, before you have a child, you have your career, like, which is
Yeah,
really important. It's like,
yeah.
it's where all your creative energy goes, where your heart is, where your mind is. Like, it's so real. Like,
Hmm.
it's so understandable that you wouldn't want to kill it.
Yeah,
You've
yeah,
nurtured it for 35 years, you
yeah.
know? And as I said, you're the most profoundly talented actor I've ever encountered. And
That's so kind of you.
it's
Thank you.
so true. And you have this beautiful budding career. Like, it's still unfolding. So anyway, I really honor that experience. So
Yeah,
you're lying to
thank
your
you.
agents. Go on.
Yeah, I eventually told my manager, because my manager is like a family guy, and like he was like, I'm supporting like you and like your, the life that you want to lead. So, and he had known about when I was pregnant this the second time when I miscarried, because I was doing a play. Oh, that's actually kind of funny. I was doing a play, um, playing a like a kind of like non-binary queer person, and and I had this like uh, kind of it wasn't like a binder, but it was like a really tight sports bra.
Mm.
Um, but the first thing that my body does when I get pregnant is my boobs get like huge, and so I had to tell the costumers, and they kept like having to extend this like binder, and my boobs hurt so badly.
The costumer is always the first to know.
The customer is always the first to know.
Like,
Yeah.
I didn't tell, God friended me. I was like, it was the season finale and I was so excited to be back on. And I didn't tell anyone because, like, I don't know, I was like maybe 3 months pregnant, but like all you saw was like a little, belly. And like, when do I not have a little belly? Like, it wasn't that big a deal, I
Yeah.
didn't think. But I did tell the costume people, the whole
Yeah.
department knew. And they were like in on it. And I apologized and all that. And they were like, no, 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 this is what we do all the time. This is like actually a big part of what we do all the time.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like, they knew
That's so
exactly
nice.
how to
Yeah.
cover it, I
Right.
guess.
Right. That's amazing. Um,
Okay, so you told your manager that's what we're up to.
yeah, so I told my manager, uh, and so he kind of had my back with like certain auditions. Um, so he like if like I got an audition from my agents and that I like clearly wouldn't be able to do, um, I would be like, like not interested, and then Bernard would be like,
I'm not
yeah, I
interested
think
in
it's
this
a
dream role that we discussed
right, right.
a couple months ago.
Yeah, but then Bernard would like send an email to you and be like, yeah, I don't think this is a good fit, or like he kind of had my back in that way. And um, but I remember it was like a big, for me, like body wise, the first trimester is the worst, I think, because for me I was like super sick, um, nauseous all the time, and then but not telling anybody, so you have to pretend like you're not, and then also like, yeah, you just start to like gain weight, but you don't look like you're pregnant and you're not telling people. So I remember going in for auditions and being like, they're just gonna think that I'm like letting myself go or like having, and it was like and then you're not wearing like pregnancy clothing yet, and so I didn't have any like new clothes, I just wasn't fitting into my old clothes, and it was just like it just made me feel bad about myself.
I think
And I was
secrets, right? Secrets make us feel bad
secrets.
about ourselves.
Yeah.
And
And I
like, you are so fully embodied and authentic. And it's reminding me when I would watch your journey, like later on, you did reveal this later on in your pregnancy. Like, I remember on Instagram, like, I had known you were pregnant months before you had posted something. But when you did, you used the hashtag non-binary pregnancy.
yeah.
And I think like your radical transparency, like your urge to be yourself in all you do. It's like, I'm just going to go back to like, what a beautiful artist you are. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're playing like, what kind of queen was that on, was it a queen or a duchess? Some sort of aristocracy
Oh,
on Mozart in the Jungle.
it was Mozart's sister.
Mozart's sister. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I thought it was some sort of regalness person. She was fancy. Whatever.
She just
Whatever you're portraying, you are so yourself. You know, like coming out as non-binary, you're so yourself. Your like pursuit to understand yourself is so deep that to be in secrecy is uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable, and it's also like that. It's interesting you bring that up because, like, yeah, being a non-binary person and then going through such a female experience, or having your body become so feminine, like, is interesting. And so I felt like it was important to kind of, because I would search on Instagram for the hashtag non-binary pregnancy or non-binary mom, because I was like, how do people dress? Like, I like to find pregnancy clothing that wasn't like a flowing, like like
Yeah.
scarfy, like, yeah. And
How did they dress? How did you dress?
how did I dress? I mean, I kind of always were like black, and so I
I know,
just
it's
like,
why I didn't wear black today.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I ended up just getting like some black, like, maternity jeans,
Mm.
and then like I bought so many bras trying to find ones that felt comfortable, that if my boobs get too big, I really feel uncomfortable in my body.
Mm. Mm.
So I was like, they don't, like, I didn't want to wear like a sports bra because that doesn't feel like me either. I don't know. So I like bought so many bras trying to find like the one that made me feel okay. Um, and so I don't remember which one I found, but I wore the same bra for like my entire pregnancy.
Until
And
like you didn't have to wear anything because we were in lockdown, right? So you were just naked. Is that? I just
oh yeah, I
imagine
was
you just
naked a
being
lot.
naked.
Totally, totally.
Yeah, like to be fair.
Yeah. Or no, I would wear like a t-shirt. Yeah. Yeah.
But what, okay, so what else if you did search the non-binary pregnancy hashtag, which I have not actually,
Yep.
maybe I should go down that rabbit hole. What did you
Not a lot.
find? There's not
Yeah,
a lot,
there's
right?
not a lot.
Thank
And
God for
there's,
you. Thank
oh,
God for
well,
you.
thank you. There's like a couple, because I don't present masculine. Like,
Mm,
I feel more agendered. Like, I don't feel like, I don't really go to the masculine side. And
mm,
there were some people who like presented more masculine, who were pregnant, and I was like, that would be a different kind of difficult, I imagine.
mm.
Um, or different, yeah. Um, uh,
I hear that. Yeah,
yeah,
not
yeah,
difficult, but different.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I was like, it kind of made me feel even more in the non-binary world. Like, I feel like as it's becoming more accepted, or more like kind of like known in the world, that there is like a spectrum of gender. um it's funny, I feel like now there's become this like idea of what a non-binary person looks like,
Mm.
um with like, which is like, short hair, the use they them pronouns, um uh maybe like have painted nails, I don't know, like, but
I
there's an
actually
idea.
I think of when I think of non-binary, I
Yeah.
think of a man dressing more feminine or
Yeah.
not. That's like the first thing that, I guess it's the first thing that comes to mind because it's the most colorful, right? Like if
Yeah.
it's the first image that comes to mind, which is not you at all.
Right. Right. And it's so funny though that we are starting to have like a definition of non-binary, though, because the whole point of non-binary is that there's like male and female, and then in between there's
The rest of
infinite
it.
non-binary, like, and so it made me more comfortable almost in myself, because I'm not trying to fit into
Anything.
like yeah, like what does a non-binary parent look like, or like mother look like? And I'm like, oh,
Looks like
one of them
Adina
looks like
Verson.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what that looks like. But
Um,
here's the thing, like what your experience, as you said it so perfectly, is that you do not fall on the either end of the binary.
yeah,
It is infinite. Like
yeah,
just because we're speaking to Adina Verson doesn't mean we're talking to all queer people, all non-binary people, certainly not trans people at all. You know, like you're
right.
not an expert on, you're an expert on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I wonder if like that, you know, I was having the experience of being like, you don't have to speak for anybody. You don't even have to speak for yourself. You're being kind enough to like, come on here. But like, do you feel like sometimes you get put in that position where like all of a sudden someone's asking you a question about like the queer experience or the non-binary experience, and you're somehow like, I'm not an expert on that, you know? I'm
No,
wondering.
it doesn't necessarily feel like that, but I do feel like I always need to be like, it's, you know, my experience is very different from probably anybody else's experience, which is very different from anybody else's experience.
Totally.
Because
Okay,
it's just
so
remembering that the non-binary is kind of infinite, like that, and that's the
infinite.
point.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, it's part of the reason why I'm so drawn to your work as an actor, is because like there is infinite possibility in you, you know, like it's
Thank you.
so fully expressed, that understanding, like, you know, I was raised modern Orthodox Jewish, and so like I know a lot about the Torah, but you know, the the idea of like being created in the image of God. If God is all things,
Mm-hmm.
right, then we are all things. Like I sometimes masquerade around as this woman who has two children, who is an actor, who's like hosting this podcast. But the truth is, I was born in the image of the infinite,
Yeah. Oh,
which is
that's really
why
beautiful.
when I see you on stage, or honestly, if I just see you walking down the street, but particularly on stage or on screen, I really feel tapped into that,
Hmm.
because you seem to be really tapped into that.
Thank you. I mean, I guess I do feel tapped into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you're pregnant with Zelda, you're sick. We're only on the first trimester. I mean,
I
really,
know. Well,
it's
the first
just
trimester was, I also want to mention that I was doing this play that was really physical, and I had all these costume changes. That costume were also, I was like, gave me like a progression of bras. Like,
it's always about
um,
the bras.
I know. And I was also playing a man in that, and one in part of that play. Um, uh, but it was kind of like a farce enough that like it didn't matter that like um what my body looked like. But uh I was so sick, and by the end of the like end of that run, I would just be like willing myself at like half hour to like be able to do this play. It was so exhausting. Um uh and then I ended up having a seizure.
Oh,
Um
I didn't know that.
yeah, it was opening night. After opening night, I would always drink like I had this like huge metal, like container that I would drink like two of them after the show, because I'd sweat so much during the show. And I was, because I played all these different characters, I had like three costumes on at once, because I would have to like underdress for fast changes. So wearing I was so hot, and then like it was super physical, and I was um sweating so much. And then on opening night, after the show, it's like quick, get dressed to like go to the opening night party, um, and then go to the opening night party. And I like didn't drink my usual water there. And then at the opening night party, it was like talking to people, um, and it was really crowded, and it's so weird to think about now, going to like a party with a lot of people.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I can't
I
fucking
know,
wait. Just take me to that party. Can I be your date, please? Because like Michael will definitely have to be with the baby.
Oh, of
I'm
course.
available.
Okay, great.
Okay, thanks.
Whatever it is, you're there.
Great, 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 great.
But and I remember on the way home saying to Michael, like, I'm so thirsty. I'm so thirsty. And I like didn't drink enough water. And he was like, well, we'll drink water when we get home. But I didn't want to drink a bunch of water before I got into bed because I didn't want to like have an icky stomach. Um, and I woke up that night to like a couple hours later to Michael waking me up, and I was having a seizure. So in my sleep. And it continued for almost like 5 minutes. And it was like my head and my shoulders and my arms were like convulsing. But I was aware of it. I guess a lot of people who have seizures, I guess you don't call it epilepsy anymore. You call it like a seizure disorder or something like that. They are not aware that it's happening often, but I was aware the whole time, and I remember thinking I am dying, and I thought that my lungs were going to stop working. I don't know why I thought that, but like I was convinced that my lungs were going to stop working, and I couldn't really speak, and all I could get out was "I love you," and I kept saying that over and over again because I thought I was dying. It was really,
I
really
really do love
terrifying.
him so much. Oh my God.
And I and he was like, he kept trying to get me to stand up, and I was like, no, don't have me stand up. And I was like, call 911, please call. And he was like, should
Did
I?
you say that out loud?
When it started to calm down a bit, he was like, okay, maybe let's go for a walk. And I was like, no, like, please call 911. So he did, and when the paramedics came, um, they were like, do you have anxiety? You might have just had a panic attack. And I was like, I do have anxiety. And it was still happening to my arm. My arm was still convulsing. And they were like, well, if you didn't bite your tongue or wet yourself, then it wasn't a seizure. And I was like, I think you're very wrong. Um,
I can interject here. I actually have epilepsy.
oh,
and
really?
I can tell you, it is not true, but 9 out of 10 times you will pee your pants.
Right. And I've
Yeah.
heard of this.
Yeah.
I
No, but you can.
But she was also
But
dehydrated.
you can have an acute, a focal seizure, which is where you are alert. That's what it sounds like to me. And you're just aware of what's going on, but you kind of can't control your body. It doesn't mean it wasn't a seizure.
I actually witnessed a seizure happening with a very close loved one, and she didn't pee her pants. But I mean, meanwhile, Laura is
I'm like,
the
yeah,
actual expert.
Right.
But okay. But I'm like, listen, lady.
No, but it's true. You can have a focal seizure and never lose consciousness and be completely awake and have none of those things. It's still a seizure.
Yeah.
Right. And so the paramedic didn't know this, but if Laura Lucetti was there.
Okay.
They are
Thank you, Laura.
they are closely linked to dehydration also. So
Yeah. And
Right.
so I went to the emergency room, and they like were totally not helpful. They gave me like a potassium pill and told me to go see a neurologist. So I did, and they it was really scary. Luckily it didn't affect the pregnancy at all. But except they couldn't do they did like there was like a 48-hour thing where like I had to go home with the I forget what it's called.
EKG?
An EKG, yeah. And that was normal. And then they did they could do a brain scan without contrast, because they can't do it with contrast when you're pregnant. But they needed to do it with contrast. So then they were like, this is a whole other story, but I still haven't had it done because I finally got it scheduled once I was able to leave the house without Zelda, which was really hard to do for a year. And then also with the lockdown and everything, I didn't want to go anywhere.
I didn't go to doctors.
No, I didn't see any doctors.
Just didn't see anyone or anything. So
I finally
with you.
And I had checked 4 times to make sure that it was okay that I was breastfeeding with different people, and they were all like, yeah, it's fine. And then I got there, I'm in the robe next to the tube thing, and the technician is like, just want to make sure you're not pregnant. And I was like, no, but I'm breastfeeding. And he was like, oh, okay, so you're just going to want to pump and dump for 48 hours. And I was like, I can't do that because I am nursing my child. And he was like, well, let me make a call. And he like called somebody. He was like, so they recommend that you pump enough to be able to bottle feed. And I was like, my baby doesn't take a bottle. And it just turned out that they couldn't do it.
But you've been fine. Yeah.
I've been fine, but they did find like it might be a cluster of cells or something that like behind in my sinuses that they just want to get it checked out. They don't think it's related, but who knows? At the end of the day, I think what happened is that I have low blood pressure. Pregnancy can make your blood pressure even lower, and I was dehydrated, and I guess that's what happened. We may never know.
Dehydration in and of itself.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of water to
Yeah,
make human life.
during that time of it's during the pregnancy, it was like there were different sections where like my body was craving certain things like so intensely. Like I really wanted animal fat for like, and all I ate was like bacon sous vide egg bites.
Oh, those are so good.
They're really delicious.
Paz is basically made of the bacon.
So is Zelda.
Yeah. Oh God, and they're perfect. So like Starbucks sponsor us.
Yeah.
Sponsor us. They sponsored our babies, so
yeah, exactly.
Sponsor this podcast.
And Zelda really likes eating them now.
Delicious.
But yeah, like that's all I ate for like a couple weeks, and then all I wanted to do was drink water. I was constantly like, and that's during the time of the seizure that like I was so thirsty all that, and I would drink like a 64-ounce thing of water, and then be like, I'm so thirsty.
So post seizure, you're still doing your show.
Still
Did you
doing
just
the
like
show.
go back to your show?
I went back to the show. We had the day off after opening, and then and so then I was like, just so you guys know, I'm pregnant and I had a seizure after the show.
Happy opening!
Yeah. And they were so nice, and the crew had like electrolyte water for me at every off stage and like every place that there possibly could be. And the show did not get extended, which it might have been. And I loved that show. And I was so happy that it was not extended because I was like, and I'm not working anymore. And then, I did like a couple TV things where they could like, dress me in a way that you couldn't quite tell.
This is New Amsterdam?
Yeah. I did New Amsterdam when I was, I just gotten into my second trimester.
And you were a non-binary character, right?
No.
Oh, I thought you were. Sorry.
No, I mean, maybe they are.
Right. Who knows? Right. Yeah. We don't know. But and you weren't showing that you were pregnant?
I was kind of. To me, I was showing. My belly kind of popped at like, it didn't like pop till later, but like I could tell I was pregnant at like 10 weeks, 11 weeks. Like. I was
You're
like,
also very
is this
connected
too
to your
early?
body. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah. But I was like, there was a lot of shame around like, I shouldn't be buying maternity pants yet. It's too early. And I was like, I need to just, maybe it's just me. Maybe like, I don't know. Like, it's like, what's normal for a body?
Nothing is normal.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier on, like the fact that we exist is miraculous. I don't know if that was the word you used, but it's just wow. Like when I was pregnant with Ness, which means miracle, his name means miracle, because I like had this real aha moment of like, whoa, like all of these people lived inside another person.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's like, and the fact that people keep having kids. Also, labor was terrible.
Your labor.
I found it to be incredibly traumatic, as much as I've had prepared, and as normal, quote unquote, as it may have been to somebody else. Like, and I was like, I'm never doing this again. Like, how? And now, of course, it's like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Like, there's like this like built-in like forgetting. But
what do you think that is, actually? I wonder. What is that built-in forgetting? If you could put your
I think
finger on
I think I think it's evolution being very tricky, but I think it's also that the like pain of childbirth, and I know that they say not to use the word pain. I'm kind of pissed that nobody used the word pain, because I was like, well, if they're not using the word pain, then like it probably isn't that bad. Like I'm in touch with my body. I'll breathe and have an orgasm and it'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be great. Exactly. That's what they orgasmic birth. And then you watch these like people having sex while while the
Yeah.
baby's being born or whatever they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. They're doing it in a hot tub. That's what
Right.
that's where they're doing it.
I would love to have been in a hot tub. I was actually planning on that, and not a hot tub, but a pool. But I think that what happens is that because it is so painful, but it is a natural pain, and that your body is meant to recover from. So it's any other pain that you experience in your life is sort of unnatural in a way. Like you break your arm or you and so then there's a recovery process, and your body maybe remembers that pain because it was unnatural, and your body is like that. Let's make sure that we don't break our arm again.
Or it was destructive. Like
Yeah,
it was destructive. It was like not in the order of creation.
Yeah, exactly.
It was moving backwards.
Yeah,
Right,
and your body
your
isn't.
arm.
It's not like your body can heal from that, but it's not meant to. It's not like everybody's going to break their arm.
Right.
Like so, it's a normal thing. It's an abnormal pain in a way, or injury, but birth is not an injury.
No.
And so your body recovers, and then I think it forgets because it's not because it's meant to recover, even though it takes way longer than you want it to.
You inspire me so much.
So do you, Daniela. So much.
Thanks. I'll really take that in, because really if you contain like all the shades of humanity. It's like so awesome.
I have a fun stat for both of you before we go.
Okay.
It's roughly 1 in 400 trillion. That is the chance that a person will be born. 1 in 400 trillion. So miraculous really doesn't begin to cover it.
That makes me like I just got goosebumps and I'm gonna cry. That's crazy. Is that just like the number of sperm that exists?
It is the science, math, how they figure things out.
Maybe the amount of sperm, right? Yeah, because if like you're jizzing all the time, I mean they are, and they are jizzing all the time.
They are.
I mean, Brian's like, yes. Brian's here. Don't worry, he's here. He's like, it's true, right? I mean, I wonder where that number comes from. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of people who are walking this earth.
It's incredible, and that all of that. What blows my mind is that all of that can lead to like some terrible people. Like if you just think about like, I mean, and some incredible people, but also it's like all of that like time, like and evolution and mystery leading to like like John Wayne Gacy, like what a waste. Like why did it end there?
That's such a realistic like point of view, because like when I think of it, I'm like, actually when I was pregnant with Ness, like Trump was in office and I was like, I don't know, he has a mother, and people would look at me like, you fucking idiot, like you are on some sort of hormone drip that's making you crazy. And I still, I'm like, there's good in I'm like Anne Frank over here, I'm like, there's good in everyone,
There is. And to think of if you just walk down the street and look at everybody and be like, their hand used to be this big and somebody used to hold that little hand.
See you in a month. Happy New Year.
Okay. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Adina.
Thank you so much.
For more episodes, make sure to follow Mom Curious, available on all podcast platforms. Thanks.